Hi everybody, I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium, and super excited to do this video. I feel like everybody's been asking about this. I'm not saying they don't ask about other things, but this is a little bit different take on spirit guides. Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's dive into it. I'm going to give a little different perspective of spirit guides and what I've learned about them. Excuse the air conditioner. I know you hear a shh, but I hope you guys are okay with it. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Okay. But I'm like, yay for the heat. Okay, when I first started, I'm going to explain this to you in this kind of way. When I first started reading way back, I used to have people, book the reading, and I would write everything down before they came to the reading. And I had journals. I have kept my journals. They don't make sense, but I think if I read them now, but I think I kept them just to kind of show the process. And plus, some of these journals are really beautiful. I was really big into buying these beautiful leather-bound journals, all types that lock, that have tie together, that all types of different journals. Some that you can put, replace the paper, some you can't. And the reason why I had these journals, because when I first started reading, I would write down what I saw. And when I first started reading, I also would talk to guides, and I talked to guides for myself, and I talked to guides for people who I was reading for. So what I would do is they would book the reading. This was pre-Google, this was pre-Facebook and all this type of stuff. And I do believe that as technology increases, it motivated me to want to increase my sight, meaning like wanting to get tighter with it, more accurate with it, to make sure, to reassure that people did not think that I was looking anything up about them. And way back when, that wasn't a possible thing. So I was remote viewing, which I've covered in another video. If people want to know what I mean by remote viewing, you can watch that video. But I was using guides. Okay, so the guides would come to me and they would tell me the core of the person, who they were. They would say, okay, this is how this person is, this is how they tick, this is how they see the world. They would tell me everything that the person was going through. What kind of work. I don't mean, I was big on to not saying, oh, you work at this place, because even without the internet, I just didn't want anyone to think I was getting information from a friend or anything. So I would more get into the core of who they were in their soul, what they were struggling with at the time, where I saw that they would, thrive at in life. It's not too different than I read today, but at the same time it's a lot different. But this would be, a guide would show up and I would see the guide. They would show me their appearance. They didn't give me like a name. I never really cared about names, but they would give me an appearance of how they looked, and I would have them tell me about this person. So I had my own guides too. I would hear and see different ones. I knew the difference between guides and spirits, because guides definitely were almost felt like, for me at that time, serving a purpose to help me with the path that I was on and other things. So I had a really big thing. People, a matter of fact, some people got very annoyed because I was like, my guide said, my guide said, my guide said, for my personal self, not in readings. People loved it in readings. Then it started happening where the guides that would show up, it started being quicker. The things that they were telling me about the person was like, before it would be like a paragraph, and people would show up to the reading and go, how did you know this about me? And I would tell them about the guides. And then they'd be like, oh, that's really amazing. I don't know how you did that, blah, blah, blah. But it started happening where it was getting shorter and shorter. Like, here's how this person ticks. Just read them in front of them. That's what I started getting. Just read them. And so then I was like, okay, well, that was quick. And it was more on me to sit in front of the person and dive into their energy and see them. I got like almost like a jump start. It started changing. And then another thing started switching, because sight changes as you're honing it. Just like anything, that you feel you're gifted with. If you're a piano player, if you're a singer, if you're great at numbers, whatever, the more you hone it and you're trying to master it, it changes, right? And so it started changing where the guide that I saw, the person would walk in the door and they would look like the person that walked in the door. And I was like, well, that's really weird. That's exactly what the guide looked like. And it started happening more until I finally got the message from that realm and said, you haven't been talking to guides. You've been talking to this person's higher self, meaning you've been tapping into that person. You've been seeing them. You've been listening to their spirit. And what that means is it's not like mystical like you think. It's like I'm jumping into a time zone and I'm seeing this energy of how, remote viewing basically, which I didn't understand at the time, and listening to the person that I'm about to read. And this is what people have a hard time understanding. Let me first say this as I go further into this. You need to take this world out of that world. That world does not operate in this world. There is no need for names. There's no need for a physical appearance. There's no need for time or space. So let me preface it with that before I move on. Because what ended up happening is the whole guide thing stopped. And what I got the message from, and I actually didn't hear anything anymore for myself. And what I got told was, please let people know. And this was years ago, because I did talk about this a lot years ago. But of course now we have YouTube and now I'm talking about this more publicly. Please let people know that in that realm there's a collective whole. There's a collective consciousness. And in that realm, the collective consciousness, your ancestors, your angels, your guides, everyone's working together. And it's not like these guides are choosing you and saying, I'm going to work with you. You shoot out a message. I want to have help with being a doctor. So all the collective consciousness of medicine in that realm shoots back to you information. Very much like the internet. You Google on the internet, right? Are you really caring who put in this information all the time when you first Google? But then yes, of course, it is more of a barbaric version. You get all these different information, and this doctor said this and this doctor said that, right? In this realm, because we operate in a separate way. We operate where you're a person, I'm a person, you're in your body, I'm in my body, you go about your path, you go about your life, and we're kind of like, good luck to you. In that realm, it is a collective whole. So instead of it being like, okay, Tom, John, and Sally told you all this information, which is what you guys are asking when you're saying, who's my guide? They're all working together to give you this information. And then one representative steps out of this collective consciousness and says, this person needs a very nurturing, kind, motherly image, and that's the image I'm going to become for them. This person needs a wizard. This person needs to believe there's some mystical creature, character. This is what's going to get them to listen to this guidance. It's the guidance that's important. We are very caught up. Everything we do is about individualism, and that is the message I can't drive home more in this realm. What hair color, what makeup, what car, what clothes, what house, what job, what gender, what sexuality preference, everything in this place we live in this earthly realm, is to put a box around us and put a label on it and say that's what that is. And we're very caught up in believing like there must be, who and what is helping me with this information. So it's more comforting, and that comfort will be given to you from these guides. So when they're bringing you that comfort, they're going to separate themselves in this form. What I mean is, until you have the knowing. So what ended up happening to me is I graduated to this knowing, and the knowing was more of like me just picking up the phone and knowing to look at it, and I'm going to get a phone call, instead of hearing something saying, you're going to get a phone call. Now look at your phone. And that was what it was at the beginning, where I needed to know there was something individually talking to me. And now it's more of this knowing. And the knowing is just picking something up and seeing it. I'm going to follow, go on this path, and I'm going to make this decision because I'm one with the collective whole. So it is okay for you to assign these individual images, and it is okay for you to want to connect with them. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't and you shouldn't want that. But when people ask me, what's the number? Anybody who tells you have a number, how do you know this number? There is no such thing as numbers in that realm. Time doesn't exist. Limitations doesn't exist. So for it to say, well, you have 3 guides, I would look ridiculous telling you that. And there's nothing or anyone who can be sure of that. It's only our understanding as we open up our consciousness, as we evolve. Just like when you're young and you're in kindergarten, you understand numbers and you understand letters, and you start piecing the numbers and the letters together, and it starts to form a language, and there starts to become a purpose and an understanding and the greater understanding. Then you're asking bigger questions, and that is how it's like in this realm. And we are only understanding a corner of a very large puzzle. And so if it's easier and more comforting, they will create, because there is no physical body. They are not limited in their form. Any form that will make comfort to you, because we are very hard to trust. Your intuition. Is your intuition connected to guides? Of course, because you're connected to the collective whole, but you're unconscious about it. So when something is nudging you and something is telling you, that collective vibration you're connecting to. So kind of look at it like if you have an idea to make a painting, you have an idea of a story you want to write, and then you see someone else has already done it. You are tapping into that collective consciousness. Someone just manifested it into a physical form, like Wonder Woman here, right, was created. But is there a collective consciousness? As I take a sip, thanks, Wonder Woman. That is saying that we need to have some powerful women with superpowers at some time. We need to bring that in. Is there a collective? Do we collectively, even in this realm, the internet is showing us, hey, as a collective, we decided we're mad about this, we're happy about this. Of course, there's flaws, because you have to remember that this is the barbaric version. Do not throw technology away. It is helping us understand that realm. It is on more of a barbaric level, but it is helping. And so when you talk to your guides, don't worry about the name, where they're from, because then you're kind of trying to value the information by who they are. That's what we do here. But more value the information and the guidance that's helping you. Work on that more. Work on trusting it. Work on trying to allow yourself to go with it, rather than fighting it by saying, well, if I only knew how many, if I only knew who they were, I would listen. Try to trust this inner self. And that is my take on guides. It is also my evolution and understanding. So what ended up happening? I don't do the guides thing anymore, obviously. That was nixed. It actually was stopped. At one point, that's what was told to me. You don't need this anymore. You were using this as sort of a crutch to just sit down and look and see what you see, because you were afraid to trust what you were seeing. So we're taking that away. It was taken away. I tried it out for the first time on someone. They were my, test try. I told them this. It worked, and I worked on honing being one, even in my personal life. And it's not easy, because of course, but that's what confirmations are for, so that I can leave you with this. Ask for confirmations, ask for signs, ask for things to help show you you're on the way. And of course, you can see the wizard, you can see the beautiful lady, you can see the butterfly. Got this butterfly bracelet. Speaking of Wonder Woman, you can ask for those things. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, but don't get caught in that. Don't get caught into individualism of numbers and putting it into this realm. broaden it a little bit more and listen. And when you listen, try to act. And when you try to act, then ask for the confirmation, the validation that, of course, we all need. So I hope that answers. I know people have a million questions. Oh, guides, are they spirits? They're not spirits. Well, they are energies that have died, but remember, it's a collective whole. They're all of them. So you don't need to worry about that. What I will say is the higher beings that have more of an understanding, who have more of an education of how this all works, of course it's a different energy. But do they help partake in this collective consciousness? Of course. And I'll do a video on higher beings. And that's why I'm trying to break up these videos into specific. This is about my take and what I've learned on spiritual guides. On spirit guides, sorry, not spiritual guides. Well, you can say that too, but spirit guides, to be specific. So I hope that explains it as best as I can. This is how I see it. This is how I've come to understand it. This is the evolution. Thank you guys for supporting me on this. I've gotten a lot of awesome comments. Please comment below, and you can even ask questions below. I tend to answer them. You can follow me on Instagram, Adela Levine. Don't forget to catch me and Dylan's podcast, The Witch and the Medium, on Spotify, iTunes, and all that. I will be a guest on the Witch of Wonderlust channel this Thursday. I'm going to be doing live readings. You should catch me on there. Go to her channel, and actually I posted on my community page. Please don't ask me questions on the community page. We're going to actually do these live. So that means I'm going to live read you. I'm not going to pre-read, if that makes sense. So, yeah, thank you so much. Subscribe. Yeah. Thanks so much. Subscribe so you can get these videos. I hope they're helping. That's why I do this. Listen to yourself. Follow no one. Follow that inner voice. Follow the guidance. A lot of those answers are built inside of you. Even with the collective consciousness, they're just trying to help open that up as you walk around in this avatar world, in this avatar body. Thank you so much, and see you soon.